Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. I'm Sandy, and today I have this tall cardboard box that I decided to keep so I could craft with it. The first thing we're going to do is paint the box. I have chosen to paint only two sides of the box because I was able to find some mirrors that are pretty much the exact width of the other sides of the box. So if your box is smaller than mine, you may opt to cover all sides of the box with paint unless you are able to find some mirrors that are just the right size to cover the entire sides. You can choose either white paint like I have or black paint. The idea is that you want to mute out the original branding, color, and design of the box. And just a quick note to say, this video is not sponsored, so feel free to use whatever empty, tall cardboard boxes you may have lying around. Now, depending on the type of paint you use and what colors are on your box, you may need several coats of paint. I'm actually using some leftover household paint from the local hardware store, but you could also use acrylic paint from the dollar store. Just be sure that you layer on enough coats to cover the original branding and colors of the cardboard box. Once the sides are all covered and the paint has dried, I'm going to stand the box up vertically on top of a foam board and draw out the shape of the box. And notice that I'm using old foam board because we'll insert it face down into the box later, so no one will ever see the old paint stains on the foam board. And if you don't have any foam board on hand, just grab some scraps of cardboard that are large enough. The idea is to place them inside the bottom of the box to become a more sturdy base, so the foam board pieces will give it a bit more sturdiness. Here I'm cutting out the foam board pieces with a box cutter and a ruler as a guide to make sure I'm cutting the pieces perfectly straight. Or if you prefer, you can use a large pair of scissors. I'm also going to use this first piece as a template to cut a second piece. And now that we have both pieces cut, we'll insert both into the box all the way down to the bottom. Just make sure that if you're using old foam board, make sure to insert the pieces with any old paint marks or drawings face down. That way you'll have the prettier side of the foam pieces facing up. Now with that done, we're going to work on covering the four sides of the box with these mirrors. These mirrors are rectangular in shape and they're beveled with a plain flat black frame. The back of the frame has empty space, so we're going to need to fill them. You guessed it, with more foam board pieces. I'll be using a total of 12 of these mirrors, which I hauled last year when I found them at the Dollar Tree. I never knew what to make with them until now. And once again, I'm using some leftover foam board pieces that has some old paint stains, so nothing is going to go to waste. And one tip I want to share with you is when cutting the foam board pieces out, cut them on the inside edge because we'll need to insert them into the back of the frame where there is an empty space. And once I have my first piece cut out, I'm going to test it out by inserting it into the back of the mirror just to make sure it fits. And once I have confirmed that it fits, I'll go ahead and use that same foam board piece as a template to cut out 11 more of the foam board pieces. And of course, if yours are too large, go ahead and trim it until it fits. And while we work on this, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so the YouTube gods will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. So now with 12 pieces cut out, I'm actually pressing down gently but firmly onto the foam board pieces as I place them into the back of the mirrored frames. There's a few areas at the back that actually stick out of the space, so I want to make an impression onto the foam board piece and then cut those areas out. It's a little hard to explain, so I would recommend watching closely to what I'm doing. I'll go ahead and hot glue them to the back of each frame. I'll apply a bit of hot glue in this area where it sticks out and then place the foam board pieces on top. Notice how I'm only applying hot glue to the seams between the foam board and the edge of the frame. Now I'm double checking to make sure the foam board piece is lying flat against the back of the mirror as much as possible. I'll use my fingers to push the foam board flat as necessary. And then it's pretty much repeat and rinse for the next 11 mirrors. I'll actually fast forward this part for the next 11 mirrors since it's pretty much repetitive and I don't want to bore you too much. So it took a while, but I finally have all 12 mirrors done. I actually ran out of white foam board, so that's why you see some are black, which won't matter because no one is going to be able to see the back of the mirrors once we affix them onto the cardboard box. So here I'm just double checking to make sure the mirrors fit properly and that they're aligned perfectly. Then I'll go in and apply some Fix-All as well as some hot glue to the foam board before affixing them onto the cardboard box. And if you don't have any Fix-All, E6000 will do just as well. The idea is to use a very strong adhesive because you want to make sure these mirrors stay intact. I'll also add a bit of hot glue to the outer edges because hot glue cools and dries within seconds, so we won't have to wait hours for the Fix-All to fully cure. Okay, so with the two narrowest sides done, this is what the cardboard box looks like now, so far. I got lucky because three of these mirrors on the side fit just perfectly both width-wise and height-wise. But for the other two sides that are wider, we'll continue placing the mirrors, but we'll be left with some exposed cardboard. And that's the reason why we painted the two sides that are wider. And while I work on the remaining two sides, comment down below with the words cardboard box and let me know if you have ever crafted with cardboard boxes. And if you have, I would love for you to share with us in the comments section what crafts you have created with cardboard boxes. Do you paint them? Do you wrap them in craft paper? Or do you deck them out with mirrors like I do? And by the way, another tip I want to share with you if you're going to recreate this box for your home is to place something heavy on top of the mirrors once you affix them onto the box. This should help the mirrors lay as flat as possible onto the box and minimize gaps caused by either the hot glue drying in clumps or the box not being even. So now all four sides are covered with the mirrors. We have three mirrors placed on each side, but there are two sides where we have exposed cardboard that we painted. Unfortunately, I'm also seeing some gaps between the edge of the frames and the cardboard box. So to cover those gaps, I'll use a strip of silver chrome car trim. This chrome car trim is self-adhesive, but if you want to ensure it does not peel off, you could add a tiny bit of hot glue to the ends and through the middle as well. I love using this chrome car trim in my crafts because it is so easy to use and it's got a mirror-like finish, so it really upscales my home decor crafts. And by the way, if you're interested in any of the craft supplies and embellishments I use on my channel, links will be in the description box. I'm always looking for beautiful embellishments and crafting tools that are budget friendly. So whenever I find something I like, I always update my list with new links in the video description so you can all stock up as well, since I know many of you are also crafters. I think a lot of you already know that I love to shop at the Dollar Tree, but sometimes it's difficult to find stuff at the Dollar Tree. And plus, they keep raising the prices. So I also look online and in other stores for good deals. In fact, I have a newly curated list of dollar store alternatives, items that you would normally find at a Dollar Tree but that you can find elsewhere online. So if you don't have access to a Dollar Tree near you or you simply can't find what you are looking for, I would suggest checking out my curated list of dollar store and alternatives, which I have a link to down in the description box. And if you don't find what you're looking for, message me through the comments section and I'll try to help you find what you're looking for. With all that said, all the gaps are covered with the chrome card trim now. Now, we can either leave the exposed cardboard area as it is since we already painted it white, but if you have watched any of my other home decor videos, and if you're familiar with my style, you'll know that I'll want to further embellish it. These are mini silver metallic foil placemats that I found online. You get a whole bunch for just a few dollars, and look how pretty they are. Rather than using them as placemats though, I'm going to cut them into strips and use them to embellish my box. So I've taken a ruler and I'm measuring out the width that we need, and then I'll cut a couple of strips to see how they fit. They should lay flat onto the cardboard box, and of course they're thin and flexible and can be cut to size. So once I have the correct size, I'm going to use one that I already cut and use that as a template to cut several more strips. And to adhere the strips, I'm going to use Mod Podge. Any type of Mod Podge will do. And in fact, for mine, it's slightly watered down, left over from a previous craft project. I'll just use a soft paintbrush to apply the Mod Podge onto the cardboard box before placing the strips onto the box. And for good measure, you can also add some more Mod Podge on top of the strips after you have laid them down. Just make sure your Mod Podge is not too thick, or else the brush might displace the strips when applying the Mod Podge. And to thin down your Mod Podge, just add a tiny little bit of water to your Mod Podge. Okay, so I've got the last piece down, and here's what the box looks like now with the silver metallic placemat strips applied down the sides. But to be honest, I'm not loving it at all. I feel there's too much white showing with splatters of the silver. Not really the look I'm going for. So I'm going to fix that up. I've got several packs of silver plastic spoons I hauled from the Dollar Tree, and I'm snapping off the handles. You get 24 spoons per pack, and I just love crafting with these spoons because they have a mirror-like finish. I've made everything from trays, mirrors, and sconces with these spoons, so if you're interested in crafting with these spoons, check out some of my other craft tutorials on my channel for inspiration. We'll save the round part of the spoons for a future craft project and take the handles to embellish the sides of the cardboard box. To adhere them onto the box, a little bit of hot glue applied to the ends of the spoon handles where they will make direct contact to the cardboard box is all you need. In terms of a pattern, you can get creative, but for my design, I'm going to find the pattern that allows me to place as many spoons as possible onto the cardboard box. And if you're still with me, comment down below with the words cardboard box and let me know where you're watching from. I know many of you are from America, but I noticed from your previous comments that some of you are actually tuning in from other countries as well. So, if you're from the US, let me know what state you're in, and if you're from another country, let me know which country you are watching from. And feel free to leave me comments in your native language if you prefer, and I'll reply back in your language. And speaking of languages, did you know that YouTube recently launched auto dubbing so you can listen to my video tutorials in different languages, including Spanish and Portuguese, which are actually the two most requested languages on my channel. So to all my Spanish speaking viewers, hola y bienvenidos a mi canal. Alright, so with all the spoon handles applied, I've managed to cover up most of the white spots. Let's take a look at what the cardboard box looks like now, standing vertical to the floor. Here, I'm using the cardboard box as a floor vase and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. It stands just a little over 29 inches or almost 2.5 feet tall. And then here I swapped out the flowers for a mirrored tabletop, and now the cardboard box is acting as a base for a side table. I really love how beautiful yet multifunctional this cardboard box is. But I'm not done with this box. I have yet a third idea for this box to make it even more multifunctional. So I'm going to bring this box back into my studio and work on it a bit more. So remember that this box has a lid that can fold up and down and can be closed. Well, we're going to build on this lid, but first we need to decide what to do with these extra flaps. We can either fold them down inside the box to get them out of the way, or we can cut them off, which is what I have decided to do. I'll cut everything off except the main lid. So we are now left with just the main lid. It flexes up and down, which is exactly what I want because we're going to adhere this black framed mirror on top of it. But before we do that, I'm going to take a couple of these mini hinges and attach two of them onto the box. These hinges also come with screws, but I won't be using the screws because I won't have enough room to screw them in. Instead, I'm going to use a bit of fix-all to secure them onto the cardboard box. You can see here I have very little room to work with because the spoon handles were placed flush to the top of the box. In retrospect, I really should have placed these spoon handles a half inch or so lower, but I was kind of designing this box on the fly, and at the time I was embellishing the box with the spoons. I hadn't thought about embellishing the lid of the box yet. So anyhow, the fix-all is easy enough to apply, but the downside is I'll need to wait for several hours for the fix-all to fully cure. So on one end, I'll affix half of the hinge to the box and let it sit. Then I'll repeat the same for the second hinge on the other end. And while we wait for the fix-all to cure, I'm going to take this mirror and embellish it with, you guessed it, more silver spoon handles. Of course, if you want the lid to be simpler or if you have run out of spoon handles, you can either leave the mirror as is or you can embellish it with some rhinestone ribbon. For me, I decided to use up the rest of the spoon handles that I had left, and at the same time, the spoon handles on this mirror will give the design of my cardboard box more uniformity and consistency as the lid will match the rest of the box. Here, I'm overlapping the ends of the spoons so I can fit 4 across the longer lengths of the frame and 3 spoons on the other 2 sides. And here's what the framed mirror looks like now. And with that done, I actually left my box overnight and now the hinges are secured firmly to the box, no screws required. And the lid is still able to open and close. So now we'll go ahead and affix the framed mirror that we just embellished directly onto the lid. We'll want to line it up perfectly flush to the edge so we can also glue the second half of the hinges to the sides of the frame. I'll start by applying some fix-all directly onto the hinges. Then I'll apply some fix-all directly onto the lid itself as well. I'll also add a bit of hot glue and then place the framed mirror on top. The mirror should be lined flush to the end of the box where the hinges are, and then I'll just lift up the hinges and secure them onto the sides of the frame. Then we'll wait a few hours for the fix-all to fully cure. Okay, so it's the next day and everything is firmly secured, but we have some ugly gaps on the top of the box where the lid is that we need to cover up. You can still see the original cardboard box because I didn't think to paint the lid before we placed the mirror on top. So we'll go ahead and cover up the gaps with this silver metallic fabric ribbon. It's thin enough that it will not create any bulk to displace the lid, and it can be affixed to the rim of the cardboard box with a tiny bit of hot glue. Once I get to the end, I'll just snip off the excess ribbon and then we'll repeat the same steps for the other side until the gaps are covered. Adding this ribbon will give this box a much more clean look, especially when we lift the lid open. We'll also apply this ribbon to this front edge as well. Okay, so now I'm double checking the lid and I'm still seeing some coloring from the original cardboard box. So I'm going to fix that up by applying a string of silver beaded necklace to camouflage it. I know these silver beads has been somewhat of a small controversy on my channel for some of you, but personally I find them very easy to craft with and they really do get the job done when I need to cover up some gaps and ugly seam. The beads also have a mirror-like finish, so they go very well with many of my mirrored home decor crafts. And here's what the cardboard box looks like now with the lid. Let's go ahead and test this lid by lifting it up. Inside is a huge storage compartment where you can hide your kids' stuffies when the guests visit, or you can use this to store other items such as tall umbrellas or shoehorns. And when you close the lid, you can place a nice bouquet of flowers and no one would be the wiser. In fact, I would love to know what you think I could store in this box. Comment down below with the words cardboard box and let me know what you think, because I'm open for any suggestions. Overall, I'm really happy with the way this cardboard box turned out. It's a complete transformation and now it's a beautiful multifunctional piece for my home. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also, remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel.